Get your ex back. Attract the love you were dating and do it right this time. Written by Hilary Dunn. Narrated by Sangeeta Chauhan. Introduction. It's sad when you think about all the couples that could have been together if they hadn't messed up their relationship somehow. You can't always blame one person, and sometimes just one person is to blame. But who cares who is to blame? It's about how to play the game and stay together or get back together. Because men and women are biologically and psychologically so different from one another, there are certain actions we take that can provoke a partner from the other gender to go away instead of staying close, as we wanted them to be. Naturally, you are probably upset. You may even be entirely surprised as to why your relationship has ended at all. But the reality is that good relationships break up all the time. And they don't have to. You read that correctly. They don't necessarily have to end. If men and women had a better realization of how the opposite sex was thinking, breakups wouldn't happen so often. In fact, you could have had that happily ever after fairy tale you always dreamed about, if only you would have known what turned the other person off, or made him or her feel disgusted with you. If you just went through a breakup, not everything might be lost. You see, I personally married the partner I broke up with, which is living proof that getting back together is possible, despite all the bumps in the road. There is still hope that you can win your ex back, and it is easier than you think. Even if you gave it all you had, perhaps you notice that it isn't always that simple. He or she needs to reconsider, and the right thoughts in your partner's mind are the key to winning him or her back. The problem is that we don't always know about how the opposite sex thinks, so it usually is a mystery to people. We sometimes get stuck attempting tactics that we hope will work, without realizing what our partner would prefer instead. In this book, you'll find some basic strategies which can give your ex a different perspective on the person you are, and get him or her to fall in love with you all over again. Are you prepared to get your ex to fall in love with you again? Better and more powerful than the first time you were together? Then don't wait and start reading the first chapter. Are hormones the biggest cause? Reflect back on moments when you were in a good mood and when you wanted to see your partner. Usually, and this happens all the time, you were in a good mood because you did things that day that were going well for you. Women release stress by having a fun conversation with their female friends about the problems they have. This increases bonding feelings and raises oxytocin levels. These hormones, in turn, make you happy and want to see your partner and connect to him. Your male partner, on the other hand, probably had a hard day of work. The last thing he wants to do is talk about his problems, because this releases the wrong kind of hormone in his body. He just wants to watch an action movie, play a video game, or get into his own interest on the digital media. This creates a problem. The female wants to talk, cuddle, and feel connected when the male stress levels are too high and cause him to feel tensed. He just came home and didn't have the opportunity to unwind from the stresses at work yet. In many situations, these two partners don't comprehend their partner's needs, and no matter how much you have in common, these differences exist, and they can break up relationships that have previously been successful. Is this the only cause for breakups? Of course not. But it sure contributes, and it should not be underestimated. Stay with me, because there is a lot more to learn that you might not be aware of. Doing it right this time. You don't want it the way it was before. Let me assure you that these are not the thoughts you should cultivate in your mind. You want your ex back, but the relationship will be different. What you had before didn't work, so you want it better, more solid. Be selective when you think back about the relationship you once had with your ex. Which parts were fun, good, happy? At which times was there negativity? Your strategy is to recreate similar times as the ones before, but only the positive ones. This may sound simple and obvious, but it's something a lot of people overlook. They think that by just being themselves, they can get things to work. Trust me, it doesn't work that way. Who you are is a stretchable concept. You can choose what you say and how you behave, and you have to be conscious of those things, always trying to emphasize with the other. Is your behavior making you more desirable or less? After a while, you can talk about the relationship and the breakup, but if your ex doesn't want to, then just drop the topic and don't bring it up until he or she does. If they are into you again, they will try to get your attention, so they'll bring it up themselves. It's all about attention and freedom. It's a delicate balance. Instead of asking them what went wrong, you should ask them what they want you to do, so that it will be done right. Focus on the solution, not on the problem. Focus on what can be changed in the future, and don't linger too much in the past. Have a clear understanding of the other's needs and wants, and assure the other person that you'll do your best to meet them. Be sensitive, but stay calm and light-hearted. Going for a happy fairy tale. If you succeed in getting your ex to fall in love with you again, it will slowly be time to reveal more of who you really are. You cannot always put up a face, and you shouldn't, but you don't have to make them see all the ugly sides of you either, or the unattractive ones. After all, you wouldn't want your marriage partner entering the bathroom when you are on the toilet. How does that make them sexually interested? You wouldn't want them to see you when you stress out too often. You don't want them to have the feeling that you're always frustrated about something, or that your life isn't good enough, even if you want more out of life. Again, it's a balance. Don't hide who you are, but don't always show what you can solve yourself. If you're tired, bored, angry or stressed, then it's okay to overcome that feeling before they find out about it. You want to become a help, not a burden in someone's life. If you're serious about rebuilding a relationship with your ex, don't be tempted to try tricks or mind games or silly tactics designed to make people love you. Just be yourself in the best way possible. You remember, the confident, playful, fun-loving person that he or she likes. Keep a positive attitude, look for the good in things, and find ways to bring happiness into your life. When all is said and done, your ex fell in love with the person you were when you first met. The chances are good that he or she will still love you for who you are. So give him or her the best version of you to fall in love with all over again. The best you will be the best chance of your ex taking you back. That head over heels feeling is still hidden somewhere, but it has been put away by blocks and obstacles that you need to remove, if possible. Be your best self and win him or her back if you want to. Be smart about it. Don't get too eager, and stay positive and happy regardless of what happens. After all, you do have a life, and you do have something to contribute, and if your ex still doesn't see it after all your attempts, then maybe someone else, someone better for you, will. And most of all, good luck. Hard to want versus hard to get. It's obvious that many men like to chase what they think they can't have. Unfortunately, many women take this too far and go on the rebound just to make their ex jealous. This doesn't really work. This only tells him that the relationship wasn't important enough and that you're just looking for someone, not anyone in particular. If you mess around too much, you may even be labelled as slutty or unreliable or easy. So don't do that. I've seen it time and time again. The idea of playing hard to get is simply remembering not to drop everything you're doing and rush to him or her the moment they call. Let the call go to voicemail and call them back when you're in a good mood. That's the trick. You can tell the other person that you're too busy at a certain time, but make sure you reschedule the date and suggest another time and place. It's not important whether you are really too busy or not. The other person has to realize that you are busy with your own life. Remembering that appearing to be busy means that you'll be important. You don't have time for everything. Your time and your life is valuable. That's the message. But hey, you'll still make time for them because you'll give your ex a chance. Don't overdo it. Make sure you arrange another meeting or some task after the date so that it forces you to limit your time on the date. You can tell your date that you cannot stay for too long and that you have other things to do. If you cut the date short this way, it could leave him or her wanting more. This will ensure that you won't go too fast. It's like a workout. What do you think will work better? 20 minutes per day for a whole month, or 4 hours on one day? Exactly. I don't think I have to explain this concept any further. When you go through your first meeting together, don't be tempted to call them immediately to arrange another date. Leave it for several days and see if they call you first. Remember that your ex still remembers you differently, the wrong way, and that one date will not assure them of the fact that you have changed and are a different, better person than before. It's not enough. It could just be a moment. But if it's a lot of occasions and a lot of moments, it could divert their image of you. Don't cross the line, and be careful to not let your confidence turn into arrogance. People hate arrogance. If you're too hard to get, he or she may give up. Everyone gets annoyed with people who are too full of themselves. If you find yourself becoming negative, awkward or complaining, then don't stay for too long. Leave the date on a good note. This is extremely important. Looking at the past and turning it around. No matter how badly you want to, your first step in getting your ex to come back to you is to avoid contacting your ex in any way. Stop texting, stop calling, stop emailing. Don't ask his or her friends about them. Just stop. Now think back to who you were before you met. You were probably getting along just fine with your own life. You would have had your own job, your own friends, your own interests. Go back and get them rolling again the way they were before you met your ex. Even though you might not feel like it, and your own sad emotional state might make you feel like sitting at home waiting for the phone to ring. Don't. Put a smile on your face and spend time with your family and friends. Hang out with people who make you feel good about yourself and your time with them. Avoid any negative friends or people who will let you become morose about your lost love. These people won't help you get your ex back at all, so ensure you stay away from them. The key here is to bring back that happy, independent version of yourself that your ex fell in love with in the first place. After a little while, your ex will begin to wonder why you haven't called or contacted them in any way, and they'll begin to worry about you. You are not there yet when this happens, but you will have made a good start. Think about it. For your ex to worry implies that there must still be a level of care for you. So, big lesson here. Stop contacting them and instead work on what's happening within yourself. Looking beyond the honeymoon phase. In Hollywood movies, the makers believe that it's fun to have a lot of arguments and that somehow people will be so attracted to each other and destined to be together that they'll have a happily ever after if drama occurs at first. Nothing could be further from the truth. Although some drama is okay, and sometimes inevitable, it's not true that arguing helps. In fact, it does the opposite. You are responsible for your own happiness, whether you are with your ex or not. You don't have to have another man or woman in your life to feel happy or fulfilled. You can come a long way by being yourself and making the most out of your business, interests, hobbies, passions, etc. The true road to happiness remains in selflessness and in fulfilling your goals and dreams. You were probably already feeling fulfilled in a certain degree when you met your ex. Have some fun, like the fun you are having at first. Create happy memories about silly movies, going out and doing various activities. Make sure you look good, get a haircut, work out, and try to be successful in business. You have to feel confident and strong. If you look like you are having a good life, this will increase the chance of your ex coming back to you significantly. I remember when another ex broke up with me. He thought I was too immature, and he looked down on me. It was as if he was dating down, and this became clear in our last conversation before we broke up. When I was dating someone else and feeling happy with that guy, my former ex became jealous, not because I was doing it on purpose, or because I was with someone and he wasn't, but because I looked fulfilled and happy. Now you don't have to go on the rebound, but just showing that you have a good life is the trick. There is another reason for this strategy. It's not just about getting your ex back. It's about getting the old you back, and then you might not even care as much about having him or her back. You'll be happy no matter what. Making your ex fall in love with you again. Your ex fell in love with you before, so it can happen again. The problem is that his or her image of you is different, and that something went wrong. Readjusting that image is the trick, but it's possible. The way to convince your ex that you were as attractive as before is simple. Even though the fire might be out, you can guarantee there are still some embers glowing in the back of his or her brain somewhere. Fan those embers and ignite the flames again. Just don't do it so fast. It takes time to get a fire going again. After an emotional, dramatic breakup, you probably both need some time to figure out your thoughts and process what went wrong. The brain literally gets damaged by happiness hormones and endorphins disappearing, and a shortage of dopamine. This goes for both, even if you think it might be more true for you. Don't talk about the breakup too much when you start dating again. The fulfilled, secure version of you, who is content about life and busy living it, needs to be the focus of all those meetings. If your ex wants to talk about the breakup, listen a lot and apologize if you need to, but don't interrupt, accuse, or overemphasize the topic. It's in the past. You are different now, and that's what your ex must believe. Male and female hormones. It's not just the stuff between your legs that separates you from the other gender. And no, it's not the other body shapes that determine everything either. Men and women are controlled by hormones. Of course, we partially learn to control our own behaviour. But a lot of times, adults let their hormones dictate their behaviour. This should never be an excuse, but understanding it gives us more insights in how the other sex thinks. For instance, when men want to be less stressed out, they will look for a way to increase their testosterone levels. What this means is that they will look at the world's problems and look for solutions to fix them. My husband does it a lot. He was intrigued by human trafficking, child soldiers, and child prostitution reports. He watched documentaries, did research, and even went on a volunteer trip to a foreign country for half a year to teach to less fortunate children. The need within him as a man to help out those in need was a consequence of his need to feel useful, and he fulfilled that need the best way he could to aid those who were going through hard times. When a man's testosterone levels are increased, he feels better about the world, and he feels more secure about solving his own issues, since he just worked hard that day and feels fulfillment. This is why some men become workaholics as well. They want to feel proud of themselves for being a good provider. Performance is what matters in a man's brain. It's too bad, however, that women have the complete opposite biological drives, which can create problems in relationships. Here is an example. For a woman, if testosterone levels are high, it causes more stress. She'll want to figure out problems and argue about seemingly unimportant topics that her boyfriend or husband may not empathize with. Women try to raise oxytocin levels to decrease their stress levels. The oxytocin hormone is sometimes described as being all about cuddling and closeness. With this hormone, the bonding between a mother and a child gets strengthened, like during breastfeeding. If this hormone is prevalent in a woman's body, it causes a desire to connect with her male partner. A woman wants to be held, protected, appreciated, adored, and cherished by her husband. When they feel deserted or left alone, they can become defensive due to the increase of testosterone levels. I've seen this in my own relationship. When stress levels are high, I want to be around my partner, but he wants to go to his man cave, leaving me feeling alone and unwanted. When a man's testosterone levels are reduced, the opposite. He becomes defensive as well, and arguments arise sooner. Knowing all this, and realizing it at the moment things happen between you, makes all the difference. Other triggers for breakups. What happens when you've done everything correctly, or so you think, and your ex still leaves you? Sometimes you just can't figure out what went wrong. It's not a given fact that you'll always be able to exactly figure out what occurred and why. Perhaps you thought everything was okay, and suddenly you didn't receive answers to your messages. He or she wouldn't pick up the phone, or your ex was ignoring you, and you didn't even know why. Bummer. The one who feels ignored often wondered what he or she did wrong, and doesn't think anything of it. while the one avoiding the other person holds a grudge or feels like he or she has already made it clear anyway. Just face it, when people begin loving each other, a hormone gets released that is close to the hormone that people with obsessive-compulsive disorder feel. By the way, there is a really good book about that. One of the reasons for not being able to sleep, eat, or go about their day without thinking of the other person is this hormone. Sometimes only one person in the relationship, or the one with the crush on the other, feels this way. The timing isn't always the same in everyone, if only. For example, a spouse may feel a particular need of making love when the other doesn't, and this is often frustrating in marriage, especially when you come to realize that many men have a peak and stronger urges in the mornings and afternoons, and many women have this in the evening when the husband is too tired. What makes it hard in relationships that haven't settled yet and haven't made that eternal promise yet is that one person might begin thinking about securing their future together and fantasizing about being together permanently when the other isn't ready yet. One of the two thinks they are just dating when the other person wants to take it to the next step. A huge mistake many people make is trying to convince their partner that they should move on and express their neediness and love for them. This can cause others to back off, take a step back, or even break up the relationship. Coming across as needy and desperate can make people pull away. Especially in men, being insecure and lacking confidence can be a real turn-off. And a lot of men don't know what they are doing when they lower themselves to such a stage. Patience. Patience. You're not yet back together if you've started dating again. Don't make this mistake. Don't tell people you're together when your ex is still thinking about it. People need time. My partner needed several weeks, spending a few hours with me every day, before he decided to take me back. It wasn't because he thought he was better than I am, but I had hurt his feelings, and he just didn't want to get hurt again. It makes perfect sense, especially when you're dating a type of person with a cautious, careful, thoughtful energy. Getting back into the relationship means taking a risk, and perhaps your ex isn't willing to take that risk yet, but he or she still wants to test and investigate the benefits, your personality, etc. Enjoy yourselves a lot and date a lot. Don't assume that they are thinking specific thoughts. Distinguishing between what they think and what you want them to think is something you have to get better at. Although getting your ex back may be your most important goal in secret, you should make your personal life equally important. After all, your friends, family, work, hobbies and interests are what make you who you are when you're not with your ex. They're an important part of you, and they help you to keep your confidence levels up and your stress levels down. Every once in a while, let your ex know that you are unavailable and busy, but that you're happy to reschedule the date. This will send them the message that your life and time is important, even when you are not with them. And even though you chase them a little, they have to chase you back. Like I said, it's like playing chess. Recontacting your ex. First, you need your level of confidence back by having a life and success, and then you will be in a better position to meet your ex again and make a good impression, like you did the first time. The safety of contacting your ex, but not too much, will give him or her the feeling that you are interested, but that you don't want to force it. They need their freedom, and they need to start thinking about you, but not the needy, desperate you. They need to know that you will be happy, regardless of your status of being alone, but that you are extending a simple invitation for them to come back into your life if they want. A little phone call just to say hi is good enough after a long period of silence, or an invitation for a date. The most important thing here is fun. They want someone to brighten their lives, not to make it a drama. If you make it to the point that you can have another date, mention at the end of the date that you'd like to do something again sometime. But don't set up an appointment. Give them the freedom. Love is like chess. You make a move, and then your partner does. If he or she doesn't make a move, you can make another one. Time's up, right? But if you do it too many times, it will get a little one-sided, and that's not a good sign. Reflect on the beginning to find the solution. In a lot of breakups, Getting your ex back can happen when you think of the beginning of your relationship with him or her. It's important to realise what your partner was like when you two first met, and what you did when you first started dating. In my partner, I immediately discovered a certain assertiveness when he took my phone and began putting in the numbers for me, because I was too slow. Now when I am married, and I married my ex by the way, I know that if he is bossy or impatient, he was already like that in the beginning, and when a bad situation occurs, it is likely for him to fall back into that behaviour. Others can close themselves off, become aggressive, dramatic or stressed, but this was his little quirk, and I could have known it from the day we met. When you were first dating, you didn't show all your bad quirks and your negative sides. Once you became closer, you felt more comfortable sharing more about your personality, but this may have been a turn-off. Instead of trying to make an impression with your best behaviour, you let the emotions get to you, and you argued, made a big deal out of nothing, or accused him or her of things you shouldn't have. And now it's too late, because that image of you has become part of the way he or she sees you. It's too late. Or is it? The person you were when you met, he or she would have fallen in love with the happy, confident, positive, motivated, independent person you were when you first met. You would have made him or her feel happy when he or she was with you, and they would have enjoyed wondering when you were free in your busy schedule to see them again. So what changed since that time? The end of the relationship. Unfortunately, at times, even the very best relationships are broken. However, even if we cannot see it in the beginning, there is always some reason for it. There are a lot of reasons why great connections turn awful and wind up with a separation. You may have persevered through pointless contentions, or you may have basically found that your ex quit speaking with you totally and afterward pulled away. When someone is upset and unsure of how his or her partner looks at things in the relationship, they often end up doing the complete opposite of the things they should be doing to bring their ex back to them. The reason for this is that a lot of men have the tendency to lean towards logical explanations and reasoning, while women want to try out different strategies that will lead towards the desired results, like talking about feelings and interpretations. Women and men are not the same, and their brains are wired differently. You cannot apply the same logic for male and female thinking, or you'll be stuck going in circles, speaking a completely different language. What happens many times, and this is the unfortunate truth, is that even though they have good intentions, men and women push each other away with the words, their tones, and their body language. They try to convey the right message, but the receiver doesn't always hear what is being said. Likewise, the one who says it doesn't always word it the way it should be worded to get the message across to the listener. The end result is often that they achieve the opposite of what they were intending to do in the first place. But despite this piercing truth, many people don't get it. They are not aware of these simple things. Is the communication between you and your ex flawless? Of course not. After a while, everything you say seems to just drive the two of you apart for some reason. I've been in this situation with my husband many times. He would interpret what I said differently and get offended, when all I was trying to say was with the best of intentions. Likewise, he too has said things that didn't sound friendly, even though he never meant it that way. Let's take a look at some of these differences in thinking patterns between men and women, and come to a fuller understanding of what may have gone wrong in your relationship. You might have done this wrong. Have you been trying to convince your ex that you should go forward together and take the next step of moving in, getting engaged, or something else that would further establish more solidity in your relationship? If yes, does he or she feel the same way as you? If you've tried calling your ex, texting, emailing or sending messages, trying to convince them that you're the right person for them, then you may have driven them away, the opposite of what you were trying to do. Your ex may have seen these attempts as a sign of desperation, not confidence. Neither men nor women like it when someone comes across as desperate. When I was dating my ex, then my boyfriend, I was fed up with all the pushovers and lost puppies that had no direction in their lives. I needed a man who knew what he wanted. And even though he didn't have a job at the time, something in him radiated a calm confidence that I hadn't experienced in any other guy before. Someone who suddenly becomes certain that the only way he or she can be happy is by connecting themselves to you is all of a sudden very unattractive. Just know that your partner probably fell in love with a happy, bubbly, confident version of you. The new version of you may not be the same. If you've been arguing, pleading, or begging, then put yourself in your ex's shoes. It's not attractive. A person wants to have fun, security, safety and freedom. When they aren't into you as a long-term solution, yet, it just means that they feel like you are limiting their freedom. If you've done this, is it too late? Is his or her image permanent? The answer is no. Your relationship can still be saved, if you change your behaviour, that is.